The land that belongs to Novorossia and that was spread along the endless area to the north side of the Black Sea has always been famous for its courageous, strong, steadfast, persistent in work and war men. Nevertheless, they could easily compete with women who didn't concede the right to carry the same titles that men did. This is a story about an amazing girl able to compete with any man for the title of a brave and courageous one. Anastasia Pyaterikova was born in October 1992. At that moment, her native city Chervono-Partizansk, where she was born, has already become a part of the independent Ukraine. She didn't have a chance to live in USSR. By the time she was born, it had already fallen apart. Thus, she was totally formed and brought up under the complete dominance of a new Ukrainian ideology, instilling in people's minds the idea of hatred for Russia and everything connected with it. Her destiny was to become an authentic citizen of Ukraine, a citizen who knows no bigger happiness as just to shout "Putin Muscovite" on the branch, "Москаляку на геляку." Thus, she could stay politically indifferent, basing on the Ukrainian philosophical proverb that says "Моя хата с краю," which is translated in English as "It's not my business." Though it's hard to decide whether it is a special air we breathe in Lugansk or whether it is the ancestors' memory that is a stronger of any ideological campaign, nevertheless, something didn't allow Anastasia to become a loyal and that safe citizen of Ukraine under the rule of state government. At first, it was hard to predict that Anastasia will choose a political activity. After graduating from the Trade and Economics College in Lugansk, she didn't want to continue the occupational work, but stayed in the regional capital and began working as a dancer in the nightclub for the first time. Further, together with her sister, they began to organize different kinds of parties. When she has already become a political activist, such fact in Nastya's biography life started to be extensively used by her rivals who wished to discredit Miss Pyaterikova. Anastasia Pyaterikova, quotation. I was organizing youth parties and for half a year I've been working as a dancer, until the moment the Maiden began its actions, and the moment when I truly became interested in the real destiny of my country. And as soon as I had a chance to take participation in Anti-Maiden, this information was immediately subjected to PR. The first thing they said was, "Stripper leads the rally." But to my mind, a person can't be judged by the activity he undertook in the past, though the work in the sphere of service as it is can't be regarded as a reprehensible one. What's really important is the present life of the person, the activities he takes at the stated time, as well as the things he believes in, things he is ready to lose, or have a risk to be subjected to persecution, or even risk his own life. No one expected to hear it from a simple dancer of the nightclub. It seems that even Anastasia didn't expect to discover the talent of an organizer in herself. But the main peculiarity that changes the history of the epochs is that the most common people suddenly discover an amazing natural aptitude in themselves which puts them forward in the proscenium of important events. Such stories are always interesting to analyze, because they draw the line between two different lives, before and after. And namely, afterlife begins from the moment when the person feels and hears the will of soul. This is the way it happened with Anastasia. Anastasia Pyaterikova, quotation. Everything takes the beginning from the party that I had to organize. But the invitation video to that occasion contained the images of the Orthodox cross burning. Moreover, those images weren't made somewhere in a foreign country, but in Lugansk. Just having looked through the comments to that video, I found no resentments to such a sacrilegious act. And thus, I understood that this place is no longer mine, and I have nothing to do there. After that, the Kiev Maiden took its place. That day coincided with the day of Nastya's spiritual impulse. Anastasia Pyaterikova, quotation. I've become interested. I've begun to change. I left my job just before the eyes of my family, but I didn't tell my parents that I became a civic activist. We had the everyday propositions. We were gathering with the Confederates to analyze and plan at first, and only then to act, said Anastasia. Still remaining peaceful and apathetic to Maiden events, Lugansk didn't show reaction to the rebellion from the side of Kiev, but did it in the disregarding manner. Very few people, including Nastya, had the courage to perform in public. Anastasia Pyaterikova, quotation. We created an organization of our own and started to organize anti-Maiden political gatherings. And just when I held my first rally, there was an informational blow-up, where I was described as the person who organizes different night parties and at the same time a person that leads resistance movement. It was the last ditch after which there was no way back to the previous noisy night style of life in the clubs. That is how Lugansk met a new candidate on the political arena. A candidate who is 22 years old, but despite such a young age, ready to take a position of a real community leader. As it was said by Miss Pyaterikova, In order to undermine the Russian movement, there were created special publics in the social network. There my name was reduced with the dust, and there were threats addressed to my family and me. Being too much afraid for my life, my mother appeared in the hospital. Nastya has become dangerous for Kiev junta, which came to power and wanted to arrange baiting for the young girl. But when it didn't help, they decided to try other methods. The main peculiarity Banderovцы possess is that they have no brakes and don't know where is the limit. As for them, the one who doesn't support and share their ideas must be liquidated. The vivid example of this is the name of the leader of social movement the Young Guards, headed by Arsen Klinchaev, and the day when the deputy of Ukrainian parliament Leshko laid his violent hands on Klinchaev and took him to Kiev. The same destiny could happen with Anastasia, who had already become one of the leaders of the social movement Lugansk Guards. She was pursued by Ukraine's security service and could be easily caught. They had to take me that next day after Arsen Klinchaev. We live in a small city, and the definite source is warned that I'll be arrested just after I speak out on the rally. Nastya had to act quickly, and in order to save her life, she had nothing to do as to flee the country for a while. And she did it. She ran away to the neighboring city of Lugansk. It was Voronezh. She's been staying there for several months, until the day when the popular revolt expelled emissaries assigned by Kiev junta in Lugansk. Anastasia Pyaterikova, quotation. We required and still continue to require the right to decide what future we want to see. We want to organize a referendum the same way it was organized in Crimea. I won't hide from you that the most part of our activists stand up for the reunification with Russia. The main thing we had to do is to make our own choice, which we were deprived of. On the 11th of May, there was a referendum in Lugansk that allowed citizens to speak out of their desire to achieve an independence of our region. Kiev had only to accept the decision of Lugansk people and initiate talks about the civilized divorce. But Kiev junta chose the war. Ukrainian armed forces opened an attack on Lugansk from the north and south parts of Ukraine. The inhabited localities tasted the danger of the airstrikes and shell attacks. When your own land is in the fire, you can't stay aside from that, as it can be compared with the bitterest crime. Thus, with all her patience that accompanied her during the rallies she led, Anastasia concentrated on the necessary delivery of the humanitarian aid: food, water for domestic use, medical supplies, clothes, and everything that the ruined and devastated Lugansk lacks is endowed by Russia. Nastya is the one who is responsible for the constant supply provided for the besieged Lugansk. It isn't simple to do, as the Ukrainian armed forces were trying to create barriers to cut off the road, which is strategically important for our city. Nevertheless, the road didn't stop to function, and it continues to live. It means that Lugansk didn't give up, and Anastasia Pyaterikova, a young, brave girl, is standing in one line together with the civil guardsmen of Lugansk. She is a real hero of Novorossia.